Okay, this is the head block and main grip assembly, halfway complete. Unfortunately, I somehow recorded over the 3 segments that I had recorded building this, so hopefully I don't forget to mention anything that I did in the original build segments. But anyways, one thing that I should mention, which I did wrong the first time, I assembled the bearings as you would in a line kit, which most people know. They always have their thrust bearings towards the end of the grip. However, SJM has theirs in between a front radial bearing and a rear radial bearing. Now, if you install those backwards, or the way that I did how the align heads are installed, there's a lot of play up and down. So I had to go back and take them back out, and unfortunately it's pretty tough to do that. You got to heat this whole blade grip up, as I mentioned earlier in a different build segment, but you got to heat this up to get those out again. So don't forget, it goes radial bearing, thrust bearings, radial bearing, and that will limit basically almost all of the up and down play, and it should be very, very tight in there. Another thing, there's no bearing or spacer in between basically the rear of the blade grip and the head block. So they have concave holes that you install with set screws through the head block, as you can see right there, to keep these the feathering shafts at a certain space distance. As you can see when I pull right here, I'm trying to do this while holding the camera, you can see that about millimeter gap. Don't budge them up like that, otherwise it's going to be too tough, and you're going to have not much play in there. You need, once this centrifugal force pulls that grip out, that's the play that you need to prevent it from scratching and rubbing against the head block. So thought I would mention that. Other than that, it was pretty straightforward. Just when you put these feathering shafts in, make sure the concave hole meets up with this set screw hole, and after that, that's pretty much it. I'm going to come back and balance the head, and should be pretty much done with this setup. Okay, once you got your main grips installed on your main block, on the head block, you want to balance this. I noticed a lot of guys in the E2 forum would put their blades on the main grips and balance it that way. Well, if you balance the head block prior to putting your blades on, you won't have to take this head block off to make sure you got all your balance issues taken care of. So best way to do this is just slide your main shaft through the head block like I did. Mine was a little bit heavy on one side. Now what I did is, you can see right there, you've got bolts that come through the other end. So just take your Dremel and shave off. I think I maybe have taken off 1 or 2 threads off of the heavy side, and now I've got a perfectly balanced head, and I won't have to take this back off. You know, I just got to balance my blades on a separate balancer, and everything should be balanced from that point on. So that's all there is for the head block. Next step, I'm going to be installing this bag right here, which has the brass ball. I'm not sure exactly the terminology, what they refer to it as, but the cyclic ball maybe. But anyways, we're going to install that in the fly bar, the head button. So I'll put that together and come back and see what I get. Okay, I got the fly bar assembly all completely installed. One thing you want to make sure when you're installing this fly bar is from the brass ball out, both ends, most people already know this, but those of you that don't, it's very important that both lengths coming out from this brass ball need to be equal lengths. Otherwise you're going to have a vibration, you'll have balancing issues and all that. So make sure that they're both equal. I use the digital caliper. You can use whatever you have at your disposal. Just make sure, like I said, they're completely equal out from the brass ball to the tip to both sides. Next step, I'm going to be installing this bag, which has the mixing levers in it, and that's pretty much it. That should wrap the head up, I think. And one thing I did forget to mention, this new head design does have bearings in the fly bar, as you can see right here. Well, you can barely see it, but there's dual bearings on both sides. So I remember on the E2 version you had a little bit of slop back and forth in the fly bar. Well, this new version, there's no chance of slop, and it's very smooth with those bearings, so it looks really good. They did a great job. But anyway, I'm going to install this, the new mixing levers and the links, and get that all going. Oh, and I'll put the swash plate in also. So, and that should wrap the head up. Okay, pretty much got the head wrapped up at this point. I've got the swash plate installed. The washing or the mixer levers are installed, and pretty much everything's finished up. A couple of things to point out when you're building yours: don't forget, when you set your flybar links, your mixing links that go up to the flybar, it's kind of hard to do this with one hand, but everything needs to be at right angles. So when you have zero pitch, it needs to be basically a right angle right here at this link going up to the flybar, and also the distance from the link to the head right here needs to be equal on both sides. So those two lengths need to be equal. Another thing I found that was pretty cool, where's it at here? There is dual bearings right here for the anti-rotation guide. And usually helis just have a, you know, the stick that comes out and prevents the rotation of the swash plate, but this thing has actually dual bearings to keep the movement nice and smooth for some really smooth collective pitch. So that was awesome. Other than that, everything else went together pretty nice. I didn't install my fly bars yet. I mean my flybar paddles. Just remember, when you do that, get a caliper or something to measure the distance between both sides to make sure that the fly bar is equal, to avoid any vibration issues. But other than that, the head's pretty much summed up. That's what it looks like. If I had two hands, I'd straighten it all out for you, but it looks really good. Everything's nice, it's designed nice, and the swash plate is zero slop, zero. And from the E2 kit that I had, there was a little bit of slop. None in this kit at all. So the head is slop free for the most part, with the bearings, like I said, bearings in the upper flybar cage, and then the beefed up swash plate. Everything looks really good. So that pretty much sums it up for the head. I'm going to start on the frame. The next build segment, I'll probably have to split that up in a couple different videos. So anyway, that's the head.